The cosmic serpent, from Ningishzida to Eden. In the Bible, the serpent is the villain, the deceiver, the tempter who destroys paradise and brings death into the world. But for thousands of years before Genesis was written, the serpent was divine. It was a protector, a healer, a symbol of wisdom and eternal life. Kings carried it on their staffs. Gods wore it as their crown. The serpent didn't start as evil. The Bible made it that way. In ancient Mesopotamia, one of the most powerful gods was Ningishzida, whose name means Lord of the Good Tree. He was depicted as a serpent with a human head, or as a man with serpents rising from his shoulders. He was the god of the underworld, but also of fertility, growth, and healing. He guarded the gates between the world of the living and the world of the dead. Ningishzida wasn't a trickster. He was a guide, a guardian of sacred knowledge. The serpent represented transformation, shedding skin, renewing life, moving between realms. And he was associated with trees, sacred trees, trees of life, trees that granted wisdom and immortality. In cylinder seals from 2300 BCE, Ningishzida is shown standing beside a sacred tree with two human figures reaching toward its fruit. The composition is unmistakable. It looks exactly like the Garden of Eden scene that would be written over 1,000 years later. The serpent wasn't just Sumerian. It was everywhere in the ancient world. In Egypt, the cobra goddess Wadjet protected the pharaohs. The uraeus, the rearing cobra, was worn on the crown as a symbol of divine authority and life-giving power. In Canaan, the serpent was associated with Asherah, the mother goddess, often depicted with serpents and sacred trees. In Greece, Asclepius, the god of healing, carried a staff with a serpent coiled around it, a symbol still used in medicine today. Even in Israel, before the biblical texts were finalized, the serpent was sacred. In the book of Numbers, Moses creates a bronze serpent and places it on a pole. Anyone who looks at it is healed from snake bites. For centuries, this bronze serpent was kept in the Jerusalem temple and worshipped. The serpent was divine. It was life. It was healing. It was wisdom. Now turn to Genesis chapter 3. The serpent appears in the garden. It is described as more crafty than any other beast of the field. It speaks to Eve and says, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" Eve explains the command, "They can eat from any tree except the tree of knowledge, or they will die." The serpent replies, "You will not surely die, for God knows that when you eat of it your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Eve eats. Adam eats. Their eyes are opened. God curses the serpent. "Because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and all wild animals. You will crawl on your belly and eat dust all the days of your life." The serpent, who once stood upright, who once guarded sacred trees and granted wisdom, is now condemned to crawl. The divine has become demonic. So why did the serpent go from God to villain? Because Israel was surrounded by serpent-worshipping cultures. The Canaanites worshipped Asherah and her serpents. The Egyptians revered the cobra. The Babylonians honored Ningishzida. When the biblical authors were defining Yahweh as the one true God, they had to deal with these rival deities. And the way they dealt with them was demotion. The gods of other nations became demons, fallen angels, or animals. The Serpent of Eden isn't a literal snake. It's a polemical reimagining of the ancient serpent deity, the one who promised wisdom and immortality, the one who stood by the sacred tree. The Bible takes that figure and says, "This isn't divine, this is deception, this is the source of humanity's fall." Even within Israel, the battle over the serpent wasn't settled. Remember the bronze serpent Moses made in the wilderness, the one that healed snake bites? It was kept in the Jerusalem temple for centuries and venerated by the people. But in 2 Kings chapter 18, we're told that King Hezekiah, during his religious reforms around 700 BCE, destroyed it. Why? Because the people were burning incense to it. They were worshipping it as a god. Hezekiah called it Nehushtan, a dismissive term meaning piece of bronze. He smashed it to pieces. The serpent had to be destroyed because it still carried the memory of divinity. It still whispered of an older time when the serpent was sacred, not sinful. The serpent in Eden didn't crawl into the story by accident. It slithered in from 1,000 years of ancient reverence, and the Bible turned it into the enemy. Same serpent, different judgment, part of something older.